It has been said that marriage is falling in love over and over again with the same person. How Kiet and Drew will continue to accomplish that will be up to them, for every marriage is unique as the people that joins. Yet the ideals of love, home, and family are as universal as time itself, and the desire to spend a lifetime with the one we love transcends culture and gender to speak to the very core of what makes us human. Marriage is a promise that says, "You will always come first in my life." Kiet and Drew, this is an ideal that you have spent over 3 years living by. Always remember that you have people in your life who love you and want to support you. They may not always have all the answers, but go to them anyway and let them help where they can. Try to always put on your best face for one another, yet remember to always make it your truest face, the one you each fell in love with. There will be challenges, but life is a wonderful adventure to be lived to its fullest without hesitation or fear of what might be, instead trusting in the inherent goodness of the dream that through the power of love will become real. I asked Drew and Kiet to each send me their favorite memories and story of their life together up until now. I asked them not to share these stories with each other so that we could all hear them together at this moment. I would like to share these stories with you. Here is the story that Kiet shared with me. I want to tell you about the first time Drew made my heart melt. This was over 3.5 years ago. We had just started dating and we were barely getting to know each other. I was, in fact, very cautious going into it. Drew was living in University Heights, and I was living at a house in Hillcrest on 8th Street with my two closest friends, Dan and Hal. This house was in a great location. We could walk to restaurants, stores, the gym, and most importantly, the bars and clubs. But the house was old, poorly maintained, and no heat. On top of that, we were 3 guys, and we weren't good about cleaning up after ourselves. The kitchen had cockroaches, fruit flies, and the sink was constantly full of dishes. The drain clogged easily, so there was always brown water sitting in the sink. Because it was so messy, I often skipped making breakfast in the morning because it took too long, and plus, I was always running late to work. I'd rather be hungry than deal with that kitchen in the morning. Drew visited the house often, so he knew about the mess. One morning, I was getting ready for work as usual. As I stepped out the door, I saw something odd in the mailbox. I pulled out the package and found a warm toasted bagel, cream cheese, and piping hot coffee in a thermos. At first, I was very surprised by this. Then I was puzzled about why there would be food in a mailbox. It wasn't until I checked my phone that I saw the text from Drew saying that he had dropped off breakfast for me on his way to work. I was so touched by this because no one had ever gone out of their way to make sure I could have breakfast and coffee in the morning. I was beaming on the drive to work, using one hand to steer the car and the other to eat my bagel and drink my coffee. I couldn't stop smiling all day. I remember thinking, how did I get so lucky to meet someone so kind and generous? He made me feel so special that day. The next morning, to my surprise, I found the bagel and coffee in my mailbox again. Then again the following morning. And the morning after that. It went on like this for 3 months. At first, my roommates were really confused about why there was hot food and coffee in our mailbox every morning.
I'll never forget the first time I met you. It was at the zoo party. You charmed me with your smile, your eyes, and your compliments. You made me grin from ear to ear. You asked me to leave the party and go walk around the zoo and look at the animals with you that night. I said no. I think I've relived that moment in my mind 1,000 times. I also remember a few years ago when I was in the hospital. You made me feel so loved. The doctor told me I had to get up and walk around the floor in one of those ridiculous hospital gowns. I was so embarrassed, But you put on one of the gowns and you walked the floor with me.
Aww.
We laughed so hard. All the nurses and doctors looked at us like we were absolutely crazy. I still have a picture of you in that hospital gown in my phone. At the hospital, you also introduced me to meditation and mindfulness, and you managed to make the experience an opportunity for growth. As I was getting to know you, one thing that drove me crazy is I would ask you a question or ask you to do something, and the answer was always the same. Let me think about it. What? Why do you have to think so carefully about everything? Why can't you just make an instant emotional decision like regular people? The first time I asked you to date me, you said no. You weren't ready for that. You think long and hard about all your decisions, Kiet. And that trait of yours that made me crazy at the beginning is one of the things that I love the most about you. And I've learned from your example. You also waited a very long time to say the word love to me, because you wanted to wait until you were ready. Because of that anticipation, I'll never forget the moment you told me you loved me the first time. It was on a Sunday night at that crappy old house on 8th Street. And I remember the tingle that went through my whole body when you said those words. I remember how my face hurt from smiling so hard. And I also remember driving away in my car and screaming in the car as I was driving away, he loves me. Because you're a counselor, people always ask me, is Kiet always trying to analyze you? Of course you do. Well, you do get me to open up and talk about things. You do that for each other. We talk about everything. We have an amazing relationship. I love that we never fight. We face our troubles head on every single time. Thank you for that. It's one of the main reasons I believe that we can overcome anything together. Our relationship is an exciting adventure. I'll never forget that first time at the zoo, that first kiss on the rooftop at Spin. I'll never forget that shocked look on your face when you stopped breathing when I proposed to you in the moonlight on the deck of that cruise ship. I look forward to many more adventures with you. I'll never forget this moment we shared today. I promise to always communicate and be trustworthy, to be as selfless as I can be by putting you and us above all else. I promise to care for you, to make you feel loved, to listen and to love and support you in everything you do. I love you always and forever.
Aww.
So I'm going to be honest and say I had a really hard time writing my vow for you. There's so much I want to say, like how I fell in love with you, how I've grown because of our relationship, the many ways in which you inspired me, but there's no way to say all of that right now. So I want to share with you some of the most meaningful memories I've had from my time together. So one instance was when you went to the 99 Ranch Market for the first time for me. It was early in our relationship, and I wanted to cook you Vietnamese sweet and sour fish head soup. For this recipe, I needed tamarind paste from the Asian grocery store, so you volunteered to get it for me while I was at work. I remember how scary this experience was for you. You said everything smelled like fish, the workers were rude to you, and you couldn't read the labels because they weren't in English. When you called me from the store, you sounded so stressed and overwhelmed. But you eventually pulled through and brought me home the tamarind paste. You were a little frazzled and traumatized, but you made it out alive. I was so proud of you. More importantly, I was impressed by what you did because it showed me that you were tough. And you had thick skin. You were up for the challenge of being in an uncomfortable situation with unfamiliar food and customs, and you were open-minded enough to try my fish head soup. That's no small feat. Looking back at it, I realized I might have been testing you, although unconsciously. I was insecure about committing to a relationship and unsure about whether you would be comfortable with accepting all parts of me. In previous relationships, I always felt like I had to hide certain parts of myself out of embarrassment or shame. But I decided that I didn't want to do that anymore because ain't nobody got time for that.
Nobody got time for that.
This time, I knew I needed someone who would appreciate and love me completely. I needed to know I could get that from our relationship. Because it's really hard being in a relationship with someone from a completely different culture and background. I know it intimidates you when we make a recipe from the Vietnamese cookbook. And I know it's tough for you to not be able to talk to my parents when we visit them, because they only speak Vietnamese. I know it feels uncomfortable for you to sit at the dinner table and not be able to connect with them. But you always impress me with how open-minded you are. You know my family is important to me, so you try your best so we can visit them together. I really appreciate this about you. You're the first partner that I've ever brought home to meet my family. It was because of you that I had the strength to come out to them. Now I feel so much closer to my family. And your family, Rickwigs. After meeting them, I can see why you act and behave the way you do.
I don't know if I'm embarrassed or not.
And I love you for that. And I love your family for the warmth and the support they've shown me. Underneath all the joking and teasing, I can see a tremendous amount of love between them. And I'm honored and proud to be able to join the Rickwigs patch. Something I need you to know is that you taught me how to love and accept myself. Because at times, I can let my insecurities get the best of me. I second guess myself and wonder whether I'm where I should be in life. In my head, my insecurities run wild. I think, am I successful enough? Do I make enough money for you? Am I smart enough? Am I good looking enough? Am I fit enough? Am I funny enough? But when I'm with you, all these thoughts just melt away. The way you look at me makes me feel whole, like there's nothing broken and nothing missing. The way you love me makes me feel lovable. You make me feel perfect, just the way I am, each and every day. And it's hard for me to describe how amazing that feels. I never told you this, but there was a moment in our relationship that completely changed the way I felt about you. It was a very difficult time for the both of us, so it wasn't until afterwards that I was able to sort out what it all meant. When you were in the hospital, I was so scared about the thought of losing you. It felt like our time together had been so brief. I was worried because I thought there was so much time ahead of us for us to get to know each other. That's the moment I realized how much I really cared about you, and that I was falling in love with you. And I knew in my heart that what we have is real. I didn't want to lose it. From there, I decided that I don't ever want to take you for granted or take our time together for granted. So all the dumb things that clouded my feelings for you washed away. I stopped thinking about whether I'm ready to trust, ready to commit, how much or how little to let you in, and I stopped worrying about what other people thought of us. None of that mattered. The only thing that mattered was how I could fully cherish our time together and always live in the present moment with you. This is the reason why I always tell you I love you before bed each night. It doesn't matter what happened early in the day, or whether one of us is out of town, or if we're fighting, I can't sleep soundly until you know that no matter what happens, I will always love you. Standing here today, I have some promises I want to make to you. Because marriage is a promise that two people make to each other. I don't have much to offer in terms of material wealth, but I could offer you all of my heart and soul. If you take me as your husband, I promise you the following. I promise to always make you feel loved and appreciated. I promise just never stop doing the little things that make you happy each day, because I love seeing you smile. I promise to never take you for granted. I promise to protect you and keep you safe. I promise to be loyal to you. I promise to take care of you when you're sick and when you're healthy. I promise to support you in achieving your goals, just like how you have with mine. I promise to tell you when you're acting crazy or unreasonable, because we all have those moments. I promise to be honest with you, even when it's hard for you to hear and when it's hard for me to say, because I will always have your best interests at heart. And most importantly, I promise to ask myself each day, how can I make you feel more loved, understood, and appreciated, because you deserve it.
May I have the rings, please? Thank you. Although you each wear only one of them, these rings essentially belong to you both, for they are a symbol of the love you share and the promise that it will bring a strong and lasting love. They will speak softly of your vow to remain one another's first priority and keep your relationship rich and full. They will give you strength and comfort in times of uncertainty and heighten life's joys as you share them. Never again do you walk alone, for your love will be with you always. Kiet, do you take Drew to be your husband? Do you promise to continue to be loving, affectionate, faithful, loyal, honest, and trustworthy?
I do.
Will you now place the ring on Drew's finger and repeat after me? I, Kiet,
I, Kiet,
take you, Drew,
take you, Drew,
to be my husband.
to be my husband.
I love you,
I love you,
respect you,
respect you,
and cherish you with all my heart.
and cherish you with all my heart.
Drew, do you take Kiet to be your husband? Do you promise to continue to be loving, affectionate, faithful, loyal, honest, and trustworthy?
I do.
Will you now place the ring on Kiet's finger and repeat after me? I, Drew,
I, Drew,
take you, Kiet,
take you, Kiet,
to be my husband.
to be my husband.
I love you,
I love you,
respect you,
respect you,
and cherish you with all my heart.
and cherish you with all my heart.
It is my absolute honor and privilege to stand here on the 17th day of May 2014 with the power vested in me by the great state of California and pronounce you legally married husband and partners in life, love, and all things. You may now seal your promises with a kiss.
I didn't know who he was. I just know him as a brother where we never got to get to know each other. And so he went on his way, and you know, he moved out, so he's very independent. And there's something I never told him was that I was always very jealous of him because, you know, he's always the smart one, always the independent one. And I want to say that, you know, that's one thing I was very jealous at. You know, he might think I hate him sometimes because we used to butt heads, but it just way of me saying, you know, I'm very jealous of you. So Kiet, he won his own adventure. He, you know, Kiet's always been a helper. He's a helper. He likes to give back. You know, he took on some job. First, he was a swim coach at the YMCA, where he saved lives. I know he was a lifeguard. He literally saved people. Okay, so in a way, he's giving back to the community. And the second job he took over was Domino's, right? It was Domino Pizza, and he was so good that, you know, they promoted him. You know, manager. Well, he was supervisor. So a lot of people look up to him. So thanks to his help, you know, even his customer all gather around him, and thanks to Kiet's leadership, all of his customers was able to gain a lifetime of diabetes, blood pressure. Kiet, you know, because of that.
And I want to thank some people who made this night really special too. So thank you everybody for being here today. We all love you, and you know, we love you all.
Came out a little wrong.
We love you all, you love all of us. I'm going to read from this now because it's going to sound more like
You got this.
Special thanks to our family members, Twan and Maria, to Your sister. Joe and Kathy, Ben and Katie, Brianna, thank you all for traveling so far away. LA, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Colorado. We appreciate you all for making the long trek over here. It really means a lot to us.
Our pleasure. Wouldn't miss it.
Love you too.
We love you more, buddy.